Okay, thank you so much, Leanne, Esther, and Nixon for joining me here today on Vonvo.com to discuss Clean Water in Africa projects and the organization Just Save One. Um, if we could start off with you guys just maybe introducing yourselves so that people who watch this video afterwards know who you are and a little bit of a background about yourself, that would be great. And then we can go into questions and the topic of obviously what we're all here for, clean water in Africa. So maybe we'll start with Leanne and then Esther and then Nixon. You guys can all just introduce yourselves. So go ahead, Leanne.
Yeah, great. Okay, so my name is Leanne. I'm a student at Green Mountain College. It's in Vermont, and I'm originally from Kenya. I've been here for 3 years, I think. I could safely say 3 years. And then I worked with different capacities in Nairobi, Kenya, with youth, especially youth and young adults and girls. And I have seen the essence of water in this different, like for instance, in the girls' rehabilitation centers, they needed a lot of water for their own upkeep, and also like working with the youth in the slums, they also needed a lot of water. So water was essential, and that's why I was very glad to join the Just Save One organization, because I know how important it is, and their direction on sustainability. Yeah, so that's a little nutshell about me.
Perfect, perfect. And Esther, go right ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Esther Ngundi. I come from the Kenyan coast, and right now I'm a research fellow at Auburn University, Woigo. And I am very passionate about issues of sustainability, including water, because water is central to life. And having grown up in a community where we actually lacked basic water, we had to go to the river, get water that wasn't clean, and so I grew up lacking basically water. And so when I learned about Just Save One organization, I was very happy to serve as a board member, and I'm very active, engaged in a lot of initiatives, including Clinton Global University Initiative, Spring Break Kenya, where we are working with young university students and promoting the act of giving back to the community. So I chair the board, and I'm also having a lot of initiatives back at the Kenyan coast. And water, we talk about water. We just recently had Miss Urban right now, 2013, donate 2,300, and we are renovating our water. So we have clean water courtesy of Miss Urban. So I know the issues surrounding water. So that's me.
Awesome, perfect, perfect. And Nixon, go right ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Nixon Arauz. I am a graduate student at Columbia University right now, and I'm pursuing a master's in health education. And I believe that this issue of having access to water, it's a human right issue, and that we should be addressing it as such as the same amount of energy we put into health. Water should be one of those. Access to clean water should be one of those projects we should embark on as a society in order for us to be sustainable in terms of diminishing the resources we put into health. Because I believe that if we supply people with clean water, we can use the primary prevention of public health to diminish the burden of disease globally. And that's how I come into Just Save One. I come from the Central American country of Honduras, and we have our issues there as well with this issue of water. And I think that this is a great start and a step to the right direction.
Great. So why don't we just start right there? Since you both all three of you hinted at problems that are, going on in your respective countries. Let's start right there. Leanne, and then Esther, and then Nixon, can we kind of just get a group dialogue going around some of the problems that were happening inside of your country with respect to, clean water in your country, Kenya and Honduras? And go ahead, Leanne and Esther, to start me with Kenya.
Yeah, I don't know. Esther, you wanna speak first? Like,
yeah. So as I said, I grew up in a community where water was there. A lot of us living in the U.S. take for granted just going to a tap and opening tap and letting water run freely. We don't have that. A lot of communities in Kenya don't have the access to clean water, leave alone just water running from the tap. And I saw it growing up, and it's a very common problem. And when you also blow it up now, moving from Kenya globally, you know that we have over 1.1 billion don't have access to clean water. So I can say that, yeah, it's a problem that begins in Kenya, in my current community, blowing up to different regions of Kenya, and even going past Kenya to become a global problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead, Leanne. Go right ahead. Just feel free to chime in. Yeah.
Okay, I agree completely with Esther. There's just a lot of scarcity. The quality and the quantity of water is very. This is a really huge problem. Sometimes people don't really take it as seriously because a lot of developed countries already have a lot of access to water, and they may not realize that it's a problem in many countries. I can remember at the time when I was growing up in Kenya, they were rationing water, and the whole country did not have water, and we had to buy water from different suppliers or get water from the river, and I feel that's the time when the country knew how important water is and how we should be able to preserve it and value it as a natural resource. And so then, just from my experiences working with people on the ground when it comes to water, is that they had to have water was not supplied to them in taps, or like a lot of privileged countries or homes in Kenya, or what they will have to go to a well or a tank to be able to access this water. And a lot of communities need such projects to be able to access water. So unfortunately, fortunately, there have been organizations such as Just Like One that have been able to come in and build these wells and build these tanks. But unfortunately, there's still so many other communities that lack these facilities. So that's a huge problem facing Kenya, just that the lack of these wells and tanks that need to still be established.
When we talk about sustainability, I'm thinking about also when we're talking about it in this sense, in this perspective of water shortage. I think of it as a natural resource, and how different universities in different parts of the world and different countries with different agendas should go about exploring the exploration of natural resources in different areas, and the misuse of the natural resources can actually lead to the contamination of sources of clean water that can also be found, underground. And a huge discussion we have had here in New York State as well. It goes around the fracking issues and how a lot of big companies want to explore areas of exploring other resources without even thinking about the prospect of contaminating the clean sources of water. So that's one of the things that comes to mind when we talk about sustainable water systems. And I think Just Like One has started is a leading organization that will change the face of the distribution of water across the world. And I'm confident in the leadership we have, and in our capabilities to advocate for those who are least fortunate, who may seem that they don't have a voice, but they do have a voice if we actually educate and actually work with people about creating interventions to bring sustainable programs for populations across the world.
Right. So while you guys each bring that up, can we go into some of the things that Just Save One is doing that solves this problem, or that comes closer and closer to trying to solve this problem? Can we talk about some of the action items that you guys have done, maybe in the past? Then we can move into some things that you're hoping to do in the future. Maybe Esther, why don't you talk? You can start.
Yeah, so I mean, well, with Just Save One, they started with just purchasing a 5,000 liters water tank, and when we talk about just yes, access to water, what happens in Kenya is that the rains come and everybody has water, and then the rains go, and nobody has water anymore. Nobody has access to water. So when we talk about just creating sustainability, Just Save One thought creatively and just got two very big water tanks, and that's what actually exactly what we did in my community, so that this water can be stored, so that time spent in going to look for water can be used to do other things. When people don't spend like half of their day thinking about where they're going to get water, then the children can concentrate on the school, and we know that we won't have any diseases that come around because they drank water that wasn't clean. So they are able to even stay during the semester, meaning that they will get their education. Okay. That water then went ahead to be used to irrigate farms so that this school can have a sustainable production of food. Meaning that, okay, just that water that we thought was providing water went ahead to provide many other things, education. So when we talk about water, and Just Save One is taking one of the best approaches to solving one problem that brings in a lot of other problems. So when you solve that one problem, you kind of have solved so many other problems. And I really applaud that work that Just Save One is doing. And I hope people who are tuning in can help the organization now continue to put more water tanks in other communities, other schools, so that these children can concentrate on their schoolwork. And I have a PhD, so I believe in education, and I want every child to have access to education, to be one day like me, and giving them the opportunity to have water so that they concentrate on school is one important thing. So that's what Just Save One for me, I think, is doing is very important. And while you think they're addressing just one problem, they're addressing the bigger problem.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and comment on any of that. Leanne, do you have a comment, or Nixon?
Oh, no, I completely agree with Esther. It is, by solving the water crisis, it's interconnected. We are not only helping in terms of hygienic water and clean water. We're looking at education. We're looking at health. We're looking at other things, that the livelihood, and that just shows it's sustainable. And one thing I like about what we're doing is that we're concentrating on one community. We're not diversifying and losing. We're not losing focus by working on different projects. We come into a community such as Baraka Oromo Primary School, and we work with them until we're able to help them sustain themselves. And this tank can be able to sustain them, and they can be able to concentrate on like what Ed said, in building their potential and realizing their potential as students, and progressing, and not having to worry about working hard hours to be able to access water. I'm very into women's issues, and a lot of girls are the ones who end up being the ones who end up having to go and access this water from the rivers and from the tanks, and they end up not having to get access to education because of lack of water. So then, we're not able to educate the girls, and then like they say, like it's a ripple, like you educate a woman, you educate a girl, you educate a village, and they don't get this education. So by working on this water project, one community at a time is a very sustainable way.
Right. Not sure what happened to Nixon, but I'm sure I'll just rejoin the chat. Maybe he got disconnected. So what I was going to ask next is, one of the individuals in the text chat asked two questions. He asked, "What's the biggest problems in trying to get clean water?" This is Jacob in the text chat. He wrote, "What is the biggest problem in actually getting clean water to some of the areas that you're from?" And you also want to know just how, Just Save One operates from the standpoint of, are you guys just relying on word of mouth, or how are you looking for, help or support? So would you guys mind covering that?
I didn't get the question well. Would you just repeat it?
Yeah, of course. Hey, Nixon, do you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
The question was, an individual in the chat named Jacob asked, what are some of the biggest problems in terms of getting clean water to the different areas that you are from and that Just Save One works in? And then the second question is, do you guys use social media or just primarily word of mouth to get, your word out about what you're doing?
So right now we're trying to develop the human resources part of the organization, and try to increase the participation of individuals in this forum as well. We can find supporters, so we can increase the impact. But one of the biggest issues we're facing right now, and we've been reading about as well, based on literature that has been produced by great organizations like the WHO, the World Health Organization, we're seeing a lot of problems like pesticide use in farm work, and the cycle of the cycle of how we get the water still contaminates the water system. So we can actually do advocacy work to decrease the use of toxic pesticide work, and we're working on developing a comprehensive program that will allow us to reach out to that community, different organizations that do work on developing these chemicals, and again, developing that awareness about these companies will definitely increase our participation in providing more sustainable clean waters to people in different parts of the world. For example, in Central America, we're seeing a lot of insufficiency of renal insufficiency because of a lot of toxins that is being used in farming, and that can also be resupplied into the water system. We're also seeing a lot of cases of heavy metals being introduced into the water system. Heavy metals being introduced into the water system is also introduced into the human body, which the human body cannot tolerate those toxic chemicals, which is causing a lot of pathogenics, like cancers, and like the insufficiencies and other problems. I don't know if my colleagues want to add to that.
Okay, I'll talk about the first question was what's the biggest problem in bringing water in my community? I would say before we had water, it was funding, basically trying to get the money. And it just happened the day it happened. It was quite an easy process. So picture this. So we say, okay, my community doesn't doesn't have clean water. And then we reached out to Miss Auburn. Miss Auburn was in a student camp. It was a church camp, and she had like almost 50 different young people. And she says, "Oh, they were talking about water, and they had gone through the exercise of just trying to recreate life without water in the developing world." And then after the young people came back, they were like, "Okay, what does it take to get water in this community?" It was like $2,300. And then they were like, "We are 50 of us. Picture this: if all the 50 of us give $20, that's it. We got Esther's money." And that's what exactly happened. The same night I pitched the problem, but the same night these young people came with a solution, telling me that it can be done. While we say it's funding, we just have to continue being creative and letting people know that, wow, the problem is very big. Once we and basing it on the notion of just save one community. While when you break it down, it's achievable. I saw it happen. So while we just save one now has started and really did something with the community in Western Kenya, yes, we are hoping to replicate it. And using very creative, simple models of targeting people, because people want to help. And when you break it down simply to simple terms, look, we are 10 of us. If we just give even $1, we can be able to get a water tank. And that water tank will have so much impact. It will be a ripple down effect. And 10 years later, you may have this child who says, wow, you were able to allow me to get an education. Look, today I am so and so. You never know. These children, when people develop their full potential, I know we have the next Nobel Prize winners.
So there are affordable solutions. There are affordable solutions right in front of people's faces.
Yes. And even to college students, anybody, nobody can say, I cannot help. You can help. Yeah, we can all.
Right. Leanne, what are some of those ways that, like JSO, Just Save One, sorry, I used the abbreviation, that they'll reach out to to a wider audience to try and help? What are really the ways of getting people to try and get involved?
Yeah, so we're very young. The JSO, we're a young community in this whole age of social media, and so we're very focused on like Twitter and Facebook, and we really try and get the word out through Twitter and Facebook, and that's a new marketing wave. That's the new marketing wave in our generation. But we're open to more ideas. Anything that like for instance, Vonvo would be able to get our message out of what we're doing and how we want to be able to create all these sustainable solutions for these communities. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Nixon said about the metals in the water. That's a whole new aspect that we can be able to tackle, because that's something that hasn't been really that people haven't really looked into, like how we're affecting people's health by these harmful metals in our water. And then in terms of funding, as Esther has spoken about, yes, there is funding that needs to be done for these problems to be tackled. We need definitely money is necessary, but also reaching to our governments and asking them to change their policies regarding water in these areas is very essential as well.
Okay, so if you just finished your last answer to your last question, what I guess I would bring up next that I wanted to really talk about, you guys kind of hinted at it before, was just like this interconnection between like education problems and poverty problems, and that actually all stems from the water problem, and like they're kind of all interconnected. So I wanted to find out if you guys could talk a little bit about, because I think that that's really interesting, and I think people would find it interesting how, let's say those three topics actually all interconnect into one another. Can you guys talk about that?
Sure. the late Nelson Mandela Madiba said, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. And like, what I find so fascinating about that statement Nelson Mandela made was weapon. The use of weapon in this context, it's just a powerful concept. And through education, we can actually transform lives and give people the tools to change their lives and give them the weapons to be able to be agents of change in their respective communities. And of course, the work we're doing is so interconnected with education. And there's a saying in my second language, Spanish: "Don't give a man fish, give a man a fishing cord, so they can learn how to fish, so they can actually feed their family."
Right.
And I know different people use it in different parts of the world, but that's one of the things I can think of.
Cool. Esther or Leanne, you have anything to follow up with that on?
I think Nixon said it all. As I said, I see a connection between this water, water and education. In that lack of water, if to say it, I just take it back to the little children that go to school. If first of all they don't get clean water, let's say that life is lost. So that life will never even get access to be able to even leave the world to get an education. So, okay, assume that they get water, and they're living in this community where they don't have access to good water. So that means either they are spending a lot of their time taking away from concentrating in school, from taking away from them being in school, getting that education that is the only tool to overcoming poverty. And I normally say I'm a living example of education being the tool to fighting poverty and the tool to creating sustainability that will last across generations. So not just something that's going to just last with one person. It's something that cuts through the generations. So allowing people to use that time they use searching for water and putting it creatively. I keep on joking that time that we let children come to school, they could be thinking about creating the next space, the next rocket that goes from Africa, from Kenya to the space. And somebody told me, when you give water, you control life. You also, let these people now channel that time into creativity. You introduce other things. And then you never know what those children can come up with. They could be coming up with the next, iPad or whatever tool, technology that we don't know. So for me, I blossom when I know that give them water. Let them spend that time creatively contributing to the community and the society and letting them get that education that's gonna just open up their world. I mean, I feel liberated as a woman too. And Wairimu talked about that a lot of women spend their time. Actually, when you talk about Kenya, it's the women who go to fetch water.
Right.
And so we're also touching on the girl child. When you provide water, you liberate the girl child. And she said it clearly. You educate a woman, you educate a community, you educate a society. And that's what Just Say One is doing. Touching on water that is so interconnected to so many other things. And I welcome anybody who has ever overlooked the importance of water. Get to Google and Wikipedia out. What is water? What's the importance of water?
Right.
And then just check our organization, Just Save One, and start thinking of ways that you can come in and help us get water to those communities that lack it. Thank you.
Right. Leanne, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So basically, education is sustainability in itself. Like Nixon said about I wish you said it in Spanish. I love the Spanish language. But we say the same thing in Kenya, is that teach a man to fish, and don't give a man fish, teach him how to fish. And because that's sustainability, teaching them how to do something. And how water and education are interconnected is that lack of water is a threat to education, because if you're not hydrated, how are you going to concentrate in school? If you don't have food, if you're not hydrated, there's no way you're going to be able to concentrate and be productive in school. And then going back to what I said about the girl child, a parent would rather have the girl going and fetching water for the grandmother and the aunties and everything rather than go to school, because they're needed for that. So so that's what I could say in a short short phrase.
And
I'm gonna just add a little bit. There's something we're missing out. Also, agriculture is very dependent on water. Agriculture and people have to be able to farm. We all know that we're experiencing climate change, and water, the rainwater that a lot of these poor people depend on, is not there anymore. So what does that mean? It means they don't even have water to grow the crops. And if they don't have crops, it means they're going to be hungry. And there's very good statistics that shows that if a child doesn't have adequate food in the first 1,000 days, that child is wasted forever. Their brain power, anything, then we will be creating this human race that is mentally decapitated. So I want to make that connection of water so that we also understand the importance of water and how it also feeds on to agriculture and feeds on into creating a healthy generation, because they can eat and because they were able to grow their food.
And with this, also, I want to pose a challenge to the companies that produces baby formulas, because they try to discourage maternal milk for baby formula, but they don't actually provide with sustainable sources of water for these mothers to create these formulas for their kids. So we're also looking into that aspect of things, and it's a complex issue in countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, in South America, Central America. We see these issues of, like, in Asia as well. We see this issue of the lack of good nutrition because of the lack of nutritious because of the lack of good sources of water. And by providing that education to individuals and people, then we can enlighten them about the problem we're trying to solve with this organization.
Right. And that's a great point. What I was going to ask, actually, what I thought would also be a good question to throw out at each of you would be, like, what do you think some of the things that, they're very obvious to you guys because you're in the space, but they just kind of go unnoticed because this topic really doesn't really get much, publicity in the mainstream media? I think each of you would agree. Do you guys agree with that? This type of topic never really gets talked about. Would you agree with that, first off?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I totally agree.
What do you think? How do you think that one statement impacts, why this continues to linger on? Can you guys talk about that?
What statement?
That this subject really never kind of gets any publicity, I feel like, and you guys agree.
The thing is that now the world, the focus a lot is on a lot of things to do with, like, climate change, and a lot of things have been diverted from social problems. So, like, water and the necessity of water was hot once a few years ago, but now a lot of diversion and a lot of attention is given to a lot to do with, like, climate change. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like now attention funds will not be able to be diverted to causes such as water, and that's why sustainability is very essential. Like, if we were to work, we should work and put our efforts now towards sustaining communities that have problems with water, because sooner or later, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people are gonna fund different things other than water. They'll be like, this is already passed. We tried, and now they need to sustain themselves and find a solution. Yes, the solution. I always believe the solution is within. All you need is a little support. So we need to give the people the necessary support to be able to sustain themselves, because a few years from now, that the topic of water may not be existing.
And that's where we come, Max. That's where Just Save One comes in.
Yeah.
We are increasing public awareness about this issue. This issue is a pressing issue not only in the developing countries, but it's also an issue that we need to be discussing in the developed world. Because water is becoming a subject of, like, who gets access to good water now? And now we're seeing a lot of privileged individuals discussing this behind closed doors. But we need to have a public forum like what Just Save One is developing now to have people talk about an important issue such as water. Scientific evidence shows that we're also doing explorations in other planets about the existence of life and water, and that's how important water is to us, and that's how much important we should be giving to water, because it's a way of life, and we should be thinking of it as a primary prevention method to eradicate or alleviate a lot of the health problems we see in the world. So, yes.
Anything to follow up there, Leanne or Esther?
I think I will. They've given sufficient answers.
It's funny.
But I think we just have to keep on, blowing the message out, and Just Save One is doing a very good job, and through your channel, and we also got to Clinton Global University meetings. Our founder Ken Ogoye represents the organization there, and we meet a lot of change makers, and we pitch the issue, and we'll keep on sensitizing and telling people about the problem, because water is it's number one life most basic need. I mean, think about it. We wake up, we have to wash our face, we have to drink coffee, we use water. And for some of us who are even in academia that are run by coffee, if you wake up and you can't make your coffee, then you'll realize that water is important. I mean, think about the entire one morning you wake up and you go open your tap and there's no water.
Yeah. So how do you get individuals to realize that's real life in other areas of the world, and to actually understand that that's what people are suffering through? I mean, is there a way to really personalize it for people? What is that? What it boils down to? It's about personalizing it for people to truly get it, or does it not need to go that far to the extent of your activism? What do you think in terms of that?
That's a good question. I think personally, personalizing it, I've seen, for example, we've seen people who are on wheelchair and disabled people, and I was able to meet one friend of mine, Christine, and she actually runs an organization where she says, spend a day in a wheelchair, so that you understand what disabled people go through. And then you personalize it. And then you realize, at the end of that exercise, you realize, wow, I never knew. So I think we should actually, and Just Save One should try to come up with a model where just maybe in a student's meeting, and people just for 1 minute recreate, or 1 hour recreate life without water. The way they do it they simulate, when they simulate hunger issues, people say you get into a table and the food you get is just rice. If we can be able to simulate it, and maybe even develop an app where children can really, kind of not be able to run anything without water, and then people really personalize it. And I know once you personalize the problem, then you really understand, wow, you go wow, I never thought about it like that.
That's an interesting idea. It's a very interesting idea.
really true. Like I said, when I was growing up and we had the water rationing, when we'd have to go collect water from an outside tank to boil the water to take a shower and take a shower with a bucket and to go buy water from other sources. Or my grandmother coming from Kiambu, which is like rural Kenya, to get water from the river so she can bring us water. When I got into that situation, I realized that, hey, water is a necessity. It is not just something that shows up in your tap or at a shower head. Sometimes some people need to be in a situation to be able to realize how important something is, or be in a negative situation to realize how important something is. Like you don't know what you have until you don't have it anymore. So basically, if we could have small initiatives where we could have a day without water, where you do not consume any water, you don't take a shower, you don't cook your food with water, there's no access to water whatsoever, and you have this national or a day when that happens, then everybody will be like, oh, okay, we need water. So maybe our viewers can dedicate one day when we can decide not to have water, and they can spread their experience and share their experience with everybody about how important it was to get water. And yeah.
And I think, just like I said in the beginning of this forum, water, health are both human rights, and we all deserve to have water in any parts of the world, and it shouldn't be a luxury. It's a necessity. It's part of everyday life. Water is life. We are made out of water. We cook with water. We irrigate with water. Everything that happens in this world happens with water. And existence happens because of water. And we should, and to bring it home and personalize it, in New York State, like I said earlier, the banning of fracking disabled these companies to do drilling in New York State. As a result, and the problems people were looking at was the issue of the contamination of the sources of water, and the way we fight here, we should be able to fight for other people who don't have the mediums to bring sustainable and good quality water for every single existing necessity that we have, for cooking, for bathing, and as well for drinking and for agriculture. So
totally. So why don't we just leave it off with one last question, because I know it's going to be 9 o'clock and we had a little glitch in the system, but we can just wrap up with one sort of really important question. What's sort of one important takeaway that you think people who are going to watch this video later on, people who participate in the chat today, live, but primarily people who watch this video, what is one thing that you think they need to absolutely know about this topic, and a way that they can do something about helping resolve this problem, and instead of it lingering on? Esther, you want to go first?
Yes, I would love. Actually, I just wanted to even bring it home that I remember when I was in Nairobi, when I lived in Nairobi, I actually almost got into a fight with my neighbor because of water. And as Leanne said, water is rationed. So the only time they open the tap is at 6. So you come from work and you're tired and you wanna get your water because you can't do anything else. So, and then I remember getting into almost a fight with a neighbor because of water, and that was tap water. So that's how and then I look at, let's say, 10 years down the lane, if we don't really allow everybody that lives in this universe to have that right, of having water, we'll see wars. Who says that we won't have wars that come, because these are natural resources? People will fight for natural resources if they're not provided. So let's view water as a very important thing, and And even though the problem is big, as we said, the organization's name is Just Save One. One community, one water tank, no matter how small it is, it's a step towards the right direction. So don't sit there and say, no, I cannot afford to give this. I cannot drill a well. You can afford to help a person get access to water for a day, for a month, a little water tank. And I challenge young people to creatively tell us how we can spread the word about water, how we can advocate, how we can bring solutions to the water problem through our Just Save organization channel. Reach out to us. We'd like to hear about creative ways of solving the problem, of getting more people aware. And yes, just always remember, just reach out to one, provide water for one person, for a community, for that one child. Remember, once we solve that issue of water, we've solved a multitude of other problems. And once we provide that water to that community, we are making sure that that community takes that time they're wasting looking for water into putting into creative ways of actually solving other problems and developing the potential of these young people. I admire young people because they are the future, and I don't want us to lose any child, because we know that every 19 seconds a child is dying because of a water issue related problem. We cannot afford to lose those children. We are losing a future. So let's do our part, however small it is. And as I said, get to Just Save One organization, learn about it, and as we said, our motto is just save one, just one.
Mm-hmm. Right, very
Thank
good.
you.
Leanne,
Yeah.
what would you like to end with?
Okay, I think I have like one or two sentences, and that would be not to I request our viewers and not to underestimate the necessity of water, and to join us in helping, even if it's just one person to access nature's gold, which is water. Yeah.
Right, very good. And
that
Nixon?
would be my three.
That's okay. And Nixon?
And one thing I will say, basically, like what Esther said, just save one. You know, we're here to make an impact in this world, and we want to be the change we want to see in this world. And we're starting with providing clean sources of water to probably by addressing this issue of water, we'll be addressing a lot of issues, and think of it that way, as a sustainable and as a powerful method to address different issues in one. Just save one.
Right, perfect. So I wanted to just thank each of you guys for joining us. This was awesome, and I hope that, moving forward, we can continue working with your guys' organization, with everything that you guys have going on, and over the future, you can use this, medium as a place to broadcast really to the world everything that you're doing, and updates, and new problems or solutions that are arising, because that's the point of this platform, obviously, as you probably recognize by now, that we want to be able to give this tool to organizations like your own, to be able to spread more awareness around everything you're doing, and what the real problems are, because there's just not enough there's not enough talking out there about these problems. So there's got to be a new venue to do so. So thank you so much for your time, and sorry for the internet glitch before, but I'm glad we were able to finish up, and I'll merge the two videos together, and we'll be able to put it right on YouTube. All right?
All right, thank you, Max. And one more plug, please, to our viewers. Please visit justsave1.org to find out more information about Just Save One. Our Facebook page is also provided to you in this conversation, in this chat. So thank you for your support, and we're looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Max. Thanks for organizing.
No
and
problem.
It's really nice speaking to both Esther and Nixon. It was really nice having to do this with you and share this experience with you.
Perfect.
And I would like to thank all the viewers who are tuned in, and those who are going to listen to us through YouTube. And we welcome you to always tune in to any other speaking engagements that come through Vonvo.com. It's a great tool for other nonprofits to spread your work. And yeah, we look forward to also seeing you in Just Save One organization website and in our Facebook pages. Like us, tweet about water, and yeah, together let's just continue to spread the importance and the importance of having a world where everybody has access to clean water. It's a right.
Yes.
Remember that it's right for every human being living in this universe.
Definitely.
Let's make it happen. I know young people are the generation that is solving problems, and I challenge you, let's be the generation that ensures everybody has access to clean water.
I think we can do it.
Starts with Just Save One, and it goes to Just Save this entire 9 billion. How about that?
Yeah, perfect. We got to make it happen. We'll make it happen. All right?
Yeah. Vonvo is awesome.
All right. Good night.
Awesome platform.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.